I was looking at that old tractor frame out back this morning, and it hit me. Choosing a welder is like picking a spouse. You got to decide if you want someone who's fast and fun, someone who's meticulous and demanding, or someone who's willing to stand in the rain with you and get their hands dirty.
Well, considering your history with fixer-uppers, I'm a little worried about which process you're going to advocate for. But seriously, we get this question from the den every day. I've got 500 bucks and a dream. What machine do I buy?
And the answer is usually it depends, which is the most frustrating sentence in the English language. But today, we're actually going to strip the paint off this. We're diving into the big three, MIG, TIG, and stick, and seeing which one actually earns its keep in a real-world shop.
Let's start with the one everyone points beginners toward. MIG, gas metal arc welding. To the uninitiated, it looks like a hot glue gun for metal. You pull the trigger, stuff happens, and suddenly two things are one. Is it actually that simple?
It's deceptively easy to get a bead that looks okay, but that's where the trapdoors are. With MIG, you've got a spool of wire and a cylinder of shielding gas. You're essentially running a continuous circuit while gas blows over the puddle to keep the oxygen from turning your weld into Swiss cheese.
I've seen some of your Swiss cheese welds from the early 90s, Tiger. They're in the Hall of Shame box under the sink.
Those weren't welds. Those were artistic expressions of failure. But that's the thing. MIG is the point and shoot of the welding world. It's fast. If you're building a utility trailer or a workbench, you can zip through yards of joints in an afternoon. It's also clean. Very little spatter if you've got your settings dialed.
But the trade-off is the gear, right? I mean, you're tethered to a tank of argon CO2. You can't just take that out into a windy driveway and expect it to work.
Exactly. A gentle breeze will whisk that shielding gas away and suddenly your weld looks like a dry sponge. And then there's the prep. MIG is a bit of a prima donna when it comes to cleanliness. If there's rust, paint, or even a heavy layer of mill scale, the arc starts acting like a teenager with an attitude. Unpredictable and messy.
So for the person in a suburban garage making lawn art or fixing a car fender, MIG is the winner. But what about the secret cousin of MIG, the flux core stuff?
Flux core is MIG's rugged, outdoorsy brother who forgot to shower. You take out the gas tank and use a hollow wire filled with, flux. It creates its own shield as it burns. It's fantastic for windy construction sites, but it leaves behind a layer of slag you have to chip off. It's smoky, it's angry, and it'll burn through thin sheet metal before you can say, oops.
Okay, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. TIG, the gold standard. Every time I see a TIG weld on Instagram, it looks like a stack of dimes. It's beautiful, but you always say it's the most frustrating thing you've ever learned.
It'll test your religion, Alex. It really will. TIG, tungsten inert gas, is for the folks who want total control. One hand holds the torch, the other hand feeds a filler rod, and one foot is usually on a pedal controlling the heat. It's like playing the drums while trying to perform microsurgery.
Wait, so if I'm building a roll cage or an aluminum boat, TIG is what I want?
If you want it to be structurally perfect and pretty enough to leave unpainted, yes. TIG is the only way to go for exotic stuff. Titanium, magnesium, or very thin stainless. But here's the reality. It's slow, like watching grass grow slow. I once spent 4 hours TIG welding a stainless manifold that I could have MIG patterned in 20 minutes.
And the precision isn't just about the machine. It's about the person, right? You can't just fake it with TIG.
No chance. If you touch that tungsten electrode to the puddle for even a millisecond, it's contaminated. Now you've got to stop, walk over to the grinder, resharpen that needle, and start over. It's a process that demands you be zen. If you had a bad day or too much coffee, your TIG welds are going to show it.
It sounds expensive too. Those machines aren't exactly budget-friendly most of the time.
The entry fee is steep, and you're buying pure argon, which isn't cheap. But if you're a perfectionist, the kind of person who aligns the screws on their light switch plates, TIG is your soulmate.
All right, let's talk about the old school brute, stick welding. SMA. My grandfather had a buzz box in the barn that looked like it survived a war. Why is this still around?
Because it's the honey badger of welding. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if the metal's rusty. It doesn't care if it's raining. And it certainly doesn't care about your feelings. You've got a stick of filler metal coated in flux, and you just scratch it like a match to start the fire.
I remember trying it once. I just kept sticking the rod to the plate. I felt like a total failure.
We've all been there. We call that the frozen rod of shame. You're trying to break it loose while the transformer is humming and the rod is turning red hot. It's a rite of passage. Stick is the hardest to start, but once you've got the rhythm, it's incredibly satisfying. It's for heavy duty stuff. If you're fixing a backhoe bucket or welding a fence post in a muddy field, stick is the only sane choice.
But it's messy. I mean, the spatter looks like a firework went off in a kitchen.
It's filthy. You'll be picking bits of slag out of your boots for a week. And you can't really do thin stuff. Try to stick weld a car body, and you'll just end up with a giant hole and a lot of colorful language. It's a blunt instrument.
So let's do a quick this or that. If someone is just starting out and they want to build a coffee table with a steel base,
MIG, hands down, you'll be finished and drinking coffee on that table by Saturday afternoon.
what if they want to get into custom motorcycle frames or high-end art?
TIG, you need that heat control so you don't warp the thin wall tubing, and you want those welds to be part of the aesthetic.
And the guy on a farm who needs to fix a gate that's been sitting in a swamp for 10 years?
Stick. Don't even bother cleaning the mud off. Just crank the heat and let the rod do the work. Plus, you can run stick on a long extension cord way out in the pasture where a gas bottle would be a nightmare to drag.
I'm starting to see why your shop has 4 different machines. You're just a collector.
It's a sickness, Alex. But the real lesson I learned the hard way, and I mean melted through a customer's vintage bumper hard way, is that the process has to match your patience level. If you're a get-it-done person, TIG will make you miserable. If you're a detail-is-everything person, stick will make you feel like a caveman.
That's a fair point. It's about the personality of the maker as much as the thickness of the metal.
Exactly. And don't buy the cheapest machine on that auction site. I bought a generic welder once that sounded like a blender full of marbles and had a duty cycle of about 4 seconds. I spent more time waiting for it to cool down than I did actually joining metal. Buy a machine that has a local repair shop. You'll thank me when a circuit board fries in 3 years.
Good advice. So, the takeaway for the den today?
Don't get paralyzed by the acronyms. Pick the process that solves 80% of your problems. For most of you, that's a decent MIG machine. It'll get you into the game. Once you've grown specialized, then you can go down the TIG rabbit hole or start burning sticks in the backyard.
And maybe keep a fire extinguisher handy regardless?
That should be the first tool you buy. Trust me on that one.
Thanks for the deep dive, Tiger. I think I'm actually ready to try that match strike on the stick welder again.
Just don't blame me when your shoes are on fire.